Okay. All right. Let's go. Thank you. I'm sorry for being late. Thank you for the patience. Okay. So today's subject is a very interesting one about counting of the Omer. My idea is to explain this as best as I can, and there are actually a few ideas that I always like to put things into context. So there are a few ideas that I would like to very briefly put into context, and then share with you some ideas that come out of a Hasidic discourse that the Rebbe delivered actually 1951. Not the first one he delivered when he assumed as the Rebbe, as the leader of the Chabad movement, but one of the first, so to speak. That discourse explains in a very clear way what's this whole thing of counting the Omer and how can you actually apply it to your life from a Hasidic perspective. But let's start from the beginning, so to speak. First of all, like the story. What are we talking about over here? The story is that the Jewish people left Egypt in Pesach, the 15th of Nisan, of the month of Nisan, and God told Moshe, at the beginning of the whole story, why would the Jewish people leave Egypt? In order to receive the Torah. That was the objective. That was on, so to speak, from the first day. No news over here. But they didn't know exactly how it would work, how much it would take, when, where. They didn't know this. They just knew, look, you have to do a certain amount of things, a sacrifice of Pesach. I'm not going to go into the details. You can actually see this in the second book of the Torah, and the Parshas Boy. All the details are over there. What's the Pesach and what they had to eat, what they didn't have to eat. It doesn't matter really right now. The point is that they left Egypt the 15th of the month of Nisan. Then 49 days went on, 49 days, and in the 50th day, they received the Torah at Mount Sinai. Okay, this is like the very, very brief and long story made very short. This is what happened. Now, our sages find in the Torah, this is in Parshas Omer, in the third book of Torah, there's a mitzvah, there's a commandment. The commandment is to count the days from right before after Pesach. The Torah doesn't really say why you should do this. The Torah just says, go count the days. Be happy with counting the days. But our sages discuss what's this mitzvah, what's this commandment all about. First of all, the first step we have to understand is that this commandment does not apply to Bnei Noach. What does that mean? It doesn't apply to Bnei Noach. Every single commandment in the Torah has basically two parts. Part number one is like the actual doing whatever you have to do. You have eat matzah in the night of Pesach, or count the Omer, whatever the Omer means. I'm going to explain this in a minute. Whatever you have to do, you have to just do it because God said so. And the second part of it, like the second side of the coin, is a spiritual teachings that it actually means and it has. So this spiritual thing also divides into two parts, so to speak. One part is what this mitzvah actually really accomplishes in a spiritual way. Because we know that Avraham, our sages say, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, all of them also fulfilled the commandments, but not in a practical way, in a spiritual way. That means that they accomplished, spiritually speaking, basically, not exactly, but basically the same thing we accomplish today, doing something physical. So in the spiritual realm, we have what the commandment actually accomplishes, and then you have what it teaches. What can you learn out of it? When the Torah, when the scriptures itself, they talk about these commandments, usually, most of the cases, the Torah doesn't say what it accomplishes, spiritually speaking, and what you can learn out of it. It doesn't say. Why? Because Torah is written for everybody, so to speak. God gave Torah to every single person. The most understanding people actually understand what it means, and the most simple people they don't understand. They do it anyway, and it's fine. It's okay. So if it would have been written, the reasons and the whys and the spiritual things, the less learned people would have be outside of this old Torah thing, because I just don't understand what you're talking about. Okay, so Torah is simple, so to speak. Now, our sages explain again what this accomplishes and what actually you can learn out of it. The practical part, it doesn't apply to Bnei Noach. What does that mean? They don't have to make a blessing. They don't have to count anything. It just doesn't apply. You want to count, you can count anything you want. It doesn't really matter. But you cannot make a blessing because you're counting the Omer. Whatever that means, I'm going to explain. What does that mean, a blessing? All of the blessings for all the commandments, they start, blessed be the Lord, etc., that commanded us to do such and such thing. And Bnei Noach, of course, cannot say, thank you, God, you commanded me to do this. Hey, I didn't command you, so what are you saying? It doesn't make any sense. Again, you want to count? It's fine. But don't take this as a commandment. You want to count? You can count. Of course, that's the practical part of it. But the spiritual part of it, what it accomplishes, we cannot say that Bnei Noach accomplished the same thing as a Jew accomplishes. Why? Very simple. Because when there's a commandment, when God says, go do this, and this is going to be the result, so God, so to speak, takes in Hebrew we say achrayus, the responsibility of this, and God makes accomplish whatever you have to, whatever He has to accomplish, whatever your commandment accomplishes, whatever the case is, from up down, from down up, doesn't really matter. The point is, God reveals these energies when a Jew makes this commandment. But if a non-Jew makes this commandment, who told you that the same thing, same spiritual energies are revealed over there? It doesn't say that anywhere. So that's regarding the practical part, the accomplishment, spiritual part. But wait a second, there's a third part, the teachings. The teachings apply to every single human being. Okay, we can discuss exactly how and when. Okay, that's a discussion and we can go into it. It's not a problem. But certainly, without any doubt, the teachings apply. So the objective of this class is let's go into a little bit this commandment. What does it mean? How does it work? Very briefly, because it's not a class for doing this, because it doesn't make any sense. I just explained. But let's see what the teachings are. And according to the teachings, how can we improve our lives to serve God better, etc., through the teachings of this particular commandment. Now, again, the story is Jewish people live in Egypt, 49 days, Jewish people receiving the Torah. Those 49 days are called the counting of the Omer. What's the Omer? The Omer, in a very briefly way, the Omer was an offering of barley, grain, and not grain, the flour of barley, made out of the grain of barley, of course, that it used to be taken to the Beis HaMikdash, to the temple. What's an Omer? Omer means a measurement. It's the name of a measurement that is approximately 1.5 kilograms. Actually, 1 kilogram and 666, like periodical 6. That's the amount of an Omer. So we're not talking about like a very big amount. It's just 1.5 kilograms of flour that was taken to the temple, and some of it was offered in the altar, and some of it was eaten by the Koyanim. Now, that's the Omer itself and the offering of the Omer. In the Torah, it says in Parshas Omer, as I explained in the third book of the Torah, that you have to count from the moment that this offering was offered in the Beis HaMikdash in the temple. You have to count the days, 49 days, until you get to the 50th day, and that 50th day is the giving of the Torah. This in itself, it's a whole big discussion that could take us more than an hour just to explain exactly what's the 50th day, when was the Torah given. It doesn't really matter right now. It's discussed in the Gemara, in the Talmud, and it's discussed in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Jewish Law. We're not going to go into this right now. It's not the objective of the class. But the point is, in a practical way, Pesach, you count 49 days. Every single night you count. Why at night? Because the night is the beginning of the day. That's how it's recorded in the Torah itself. It was the night, it was the day. That's one day, second day, third day, etc. So the Jewish day starts at night for most of the things, not for everything. And You count the days. When you go to the 49th day, you finish your count. Next day, Shavuot. Shavuot is the festival of receiving of the Torah. Very nice. Now, what do our sages say about this commandment? Again, I just said that the Torah doesn't say really anything. Why? Just go and count, whatever. What do our sages say? There's a famous teaching that the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, they knew that they were going to receive the Torah. So they started counting the days like, wow, when is this going to happen? They were like anxious, yearning to receive the Torah. So they counted the days until they received the Torah. This is one simple reason why. This reason is recorded in the Ran. Ran is Rabbeinu Nissim. He lived in Spain in the years 1300s approximately. Very, very big and important sage. He recorded this idea, and it's brought down in many, many other books. Now, one very, very simple teaching out of this, because what we just said is a reason of why counting the days, because the Jewish people were yearning for the receiving of the Torah. Now, tell me a teaching, a very simple teaching that this can apply to anyone, and this is also a very big subject, is the appreciation of time. Time is the only thing you cannot get back. I could take your money and say, I'm sorry, and I give it back to you. I could even, God forbid, but inflict a damage on a person, on a thing, and you pay it back. Okay? Maybe you don't get the same thing like before, again, because I broke it, because of whatever the case is, because you love that thing particularly, but I can at least pay you back. Somehow it can come back. But time is the only thing that doesn't come back. And in the Jewish perspective of time, it's a little bit different than the regular perspective. The Jewish time is like some, I don't know the name in English, I'm sorry. In Spanish, it's called resorte. Resorte is like a thing that goes up and down, opens and closes, goes like this. So you see all the rings in this thing, whatever the name is, all these rings, they represent, they have the same size, the same shape, but in a different place. Same thing happens with time in Judaism. Regular way of understanding time is like the X and Y, everybody learned at school. So X represents time. And time just flows and goes on and on and on infinitely. And you never go back to the same point you were before, because just time goes on. In the Jewish perspective, time repeats itself all the time, so to speak, constantly repeating itself. The same energy that was available at a specific point in time in the past, when the same day comes over, the same energy is available. We have to learn how to tap on that energy, how to use that energy, whatever. But the same energy is once and again. So when Pesach comes, the 15th of Nisan comes, we have exactly the same energy that the Jewish people felt when they were going out of Egypt. We have it right now. How do you tap on it? Okay, we can discuss this. The commandments of Pesach, whatever. But you get the same energy once and again. And next year, the same thing. And next year, the same thing, and so on. So we have to learn to appreciate time, because it's a powerful thing. I mean, you get one opportunity of doing a commandment, of doing a favor for somebody, of thinking good about somebody, of talking good about somebody, etc. And you miss that opportunity. So on one hand, okay, you can replace it next year, so to speak. But on the other hand, it's a lost opportunity and it's never going to come back, because that particular point in time, in that particular year, is not going to happen again. So why do we count the Omer? You can say in a very simple and superficial way, we count it to learn to appreciate time. That's like a simple teaching. Now, the objective of this class is to share a little bit deeper. Let's go one step further. Our sages in the mystical teachings of Judaism, like Kabbalah, Hasidus, etc., they say that these 49 days actually represent a very specific thing in each one of us. And each one of us has to work on these 49 levels, whatever they are. I'm going to explain in a few minutes. We have to work on these levels in order to be able to receive the Torah. What does that mean? The Jewish people, our sages say, the Jewish people were like sunk in 49 gates of impurity in Egypt. They were really, really bad. Like one more second, microsecond, nanosecond, whatever the measure is, one more second, and they would have been lost forever. Of course, God can do anything he wants, but that's like the rules. The rules are, once you passed a certain level of impurity, that's it. You're lost. You passed 49, there are only 50 of these levels. You pass the 49, you enter into the 50th, that's it. Gone, forever. And God took us out of Egypt right before we like sunk into the 50th level, and that's it. God took us out of Egypt, and through those 49 days, we started like working in ourselves. We're going to understand this a little bit better at the end of the class, God willing, if I explain. So we started working on each one of these 49 levels until we reached Mount Sinai, in which we were able to absorb the 50th level. What's that? Giving of the Torah. Like a direct connection to God, face to face, so to speak. And that's what the Jewish people saw, that God spoke with us face to face. That's the language of the Torah itself. Like the scriptures itself, they say that. Whatever that means, God doesn't have a face. We do have a face. God doesn't. But in any case, there's a specific, like very specific structure. God taking us out of Egypt, we working 49 levels, whatever they are, and God responding to that work that we did through giving himself, so to speak, in Shavuot, in the giving of the Torah, in Mount Sinai, etc., etc. Now we have to understand what are those 49 things, 49 levels. What do they represent? In order to understand this, because sometimes names are like easier to understand and to appreciate when you see, I prepared a very, very, very small page, not even a presentation over here. It's just a page with a few names that maybe some of you, I'm just going to move a little bit to the side so you can see the names. Maybe some of you understand and know these names already. Okay, that's fine. And if you don't, here they are. And I'm going to explain all of these levels in a very specific way. What I mean very specific way. If you see over here, whatever the names are, doesn't matter, you have 7 levels. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Yesod, Malchut. And you can see the translations over there. Kindness, Severity, Beauty, Victory, Splendor, Fundament, and Kingship. I'm going to explain each one of these levels in a few minutes. That's actually the point, the whole point of this class. Now, if you see, I ordered this in 3 columns. Right, middle, and left. I actually wrote right, middle, and left on purpose because you can see one way, the other way, selfish, not selfish. So I'm trying to make things clear. Right way, middle, and left. Each one of these things represent emotional attributes, as it's written over there in the title, emotional attributes. Now, you can ask, why these, why 7? That's a good question. It's a valid question. And it's a question brought down in Hasidic teachings, not exactly about 7 and these, but about 10. There's a thing, I'm not going to explain right now because it's out of the scope of this class. There's a thing called Sefirot. Sefirot means like some spheres in the emotional things and not emotional, spiritual things. Not spheres like bubbles in the air. There are no bubbles in the air. It's just a way of understanding an expression of God. That's what it means. How we call this expression, we call it Chesed. How do we call this expression? We call it Gevurah. So there are 10 of these. The question is raised, why 10? Why not 11? Why not 200? It's a good question, and there's no answer to that question. Why 10? Because God wanted 10. In other words, the regular answer to this question is because 10 is like a complete number. Wow, very nice, like complete. Yeah, but the question is, why is 10 complete? Why not 11? Who told you 10 is complete and not 12? The answer is, there's no answer to this. Because logic, the way we understand it, God created that logic in a way that we find this logic understandable. And we say, oh yeah, it makes sense, very nice. Yeah, really? Why? Because God wanted, that's all. It's like saying, I think I said this in a previous class, it's like saying first a father and then a son. Of course, you cannot be a father if you don't have a son. So first you have to have a certain amount of years to be a father and to be a mother, and then you can have a son, a daughter, whatever. But that obvious logic only makes sense because God wanted that logic to make sense. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made any sense. God could have made a world where the son or the daughter come before the father or the mother. And that would make sense, perfect sense. And anybody would say, wait, first the father and then the son. You're nuts. You're crazy. You think everything crooked. No, okay, this same logic is God's creation for us to be able to work whatever, the way God wants us to function. So let's go back. Again, why 7? Because God wanted 7. Because he decided to express himself in these 7 emotional, so to speak, attributes. Why do I call it emotional? Because when we see this in an example in our soul, we're not going to go this into detail. If there's time, I can explain briefly. But when we see this in our soul, we find that these expressions are actually expressions of emotional attributes of ourselves. And because our soul is created in the image of God doesn't have any image, that's just expressions of God. Our soul is created in the image of God, so our soul has his, so to speak, expressions. But God, in his world, so to speak, there's no intellect and emotions. God is not a man. It's not a woman either. God doesn't have any definition. His essence doesn't have any definition. Then he decides, because whatever reason he decided, to express himself in a certain way. Okay? And he taught us through our sages that this is the way he expresses himself. And we talk about this and we teach this, etc., etc. These 7 levels are called emotional levels. Now, before getting into the details of these things, what they mean and how they interact with each other, etc., one more point, which is a very important point to understand why we're talking about this and not something else. Because you could say, look, 7 levels, 7 times 7, I'll explain in a minute why I'm doing this mathematic thing. 7 times 7 is 49. Oh, very nice. The Torah says to count 49 days. And there's some guy 1,000 years ago that came up with a very nice mathematics. 49, what can I do with the 49? Oh, I got it. 7 times 7 is 49. So let's make up 7 levels. And then we say the 7 times 7, for whatever reason, I'll explain. And then we got 49. Oh, very nice. So 49 days is the 7 levels, emotional levels. But wait a second. We just explained that there are 10 levels, not 7. It's 10. Whatever the names are, it doesn't matter right now. It's 10. So why don't we say 100? 10 times 10 times 10 is 100. But Torah says 49. So what do you do? No. Okay, let's talk about these levels only. No. That's not the way Torah works. Why precisely these 7 levels and not the 10 levels, whatever they are? Very simple reason. When you see, it's actually a Hasidic reason. That's so simple, whatever. A Hasidic reason. When you see let's go back to the story. That's why I started with the story and with the practical things that we don't do anyway, because there's no Beis Hamikdash, there's no temple, we don't do offerings. When you see what the Omer offering was after Pesach, I said it's barley. Most of the offerings, most of them are not barley, are wheat. Most of the offerings. There are only 2 offerings of barley. One of them, it doesn't really matter right now. It's in Parshas Nasa. It's called Soita. I'm not going to go into the details of a woman that's Soita. It doesn't matter right now. And the other one is this one. Why? Everybody brings wheat, and this woman, and after Pesach, you have to bring barley? What's the point of it? Our sages explain that barley is food for animals. It's not food for human being. Today we eat barley also, but in ancient times, barley was only food for animals. That means that there is actually a connection between a human being and an animal. What's the difference between a human being and an animal? Intellect. Because emotions, animals also have. in one way, in a different way. Okay, we can discuss it, but they have emotions also. So when we're talking about an offering of barley, that's teaching us something very specific. You're talking about the animal part of the human being. You're not talking about the human part, so to speak, of the human being. That would be intellect. And there are 3 levels. There are intellect. It doesn't matter now which ones they are and what they are. And there are 7 levels that are like called emotional levels. Oh, so in Pesach, and regarding this woman that is called Soita, doesn't matter right now, regarding Pesach, we're talking about the emotional levels that liken us to the animals. That's why we talk about 7 and 9 and not 10. Okay, so you gave me a reason for 7 now. But actually, we count 49 days. So how do you go from 7 to 49? Oh yeah, the rabbi said 7 times 7 is 49. Very nice. Why? Because I could say 7 plus 2 is 9. Oh, very nice. There is 49, not 9. Oh, okay, I don't know. Let's just sum 40 and then you... No. It doesn't work like that. Why 7 times 7 and 149? The idea is like this. Each one of these qualities, attributes, each one of them is actually composed with a component of the other qualities, of the other 7 qualities. So each one of these 7 things is actually composed of 7 things. Oh, okay, so 7 times 7 is 49. That means that in this period from after Pesach up to before Shavuot, these 49 days, we're supposed to work on 2 things. Okay, over here. 2 things. Thing number 1 is our animal part, whatever that means. I don't know. Each one of us is a different kind of animal, type of animal, and we certainly have emotions. Hopefully, we have emotions, and we certainly have to work on them, as I'll explain in a few minutes. That's point number 1. Let's go a little bit deeper into this point number 1, like point number 2. There's a specific work that is composed of understanding our 7 attributes, so to speak, quote unquote, as animals. We're not animals, of course. For the Jewish perspective, human beings are not better animals. We don't come from apes and Darwin and all of this. Forget it. For Jewish perspective, it's not like that. We're human beings, infinitely superior than animals. Everything is okay with animals, and I love animals. Everything is okay, fine. But we're not better animals. We're human beings. However, we do have certain things inside of us, in our soul, even in our soul, spiritually speaking, that likens to animals. What? Emotions. So we have to work on our emotions, on our animal. I'm sorry. Point number 1. Second, what does that mean? It means work on your emotions. Okay, which emotions do I have? So that's where we go back to what our sages in the mystical part of Judaism teach, Kabbalah, Hasidus, etc. There are 7 types of emotions. Why 7 and not 10? Okay, again, because this is the way God chose to express himself. I don't have an explanation. And not that I don't have because I don't know anything, I should be learning more. Nobody has an explanation for this. This is the way God wanted to express himself. That's it, take it or leave it, so to speak. Okay, so there are 7 types of emotions. Each one of them is composed of the other 7. Now, we could spend explaining this very, very long. I'm just going to explain basically what each one of these mean, and I'm going to give an example that is actually brought in this Hasidic discourse that I mentioned before. What did I do? Okay. Oops. I lost. All right. Okay. Here I am. I'm going to explain this Hasidic discourse that I mentioned before. And if anybody has a specific question on how something works with the other one, I'm open to this. So let's go. First of all, let's start. Why did I divide these into 3 columns, right, middle, and left? Because since the Torah says that God created the man to his image. And if we look at a man, you have like a right side of your body, a middle side of your body, and a left side of your body. And they represent different ways of dealing with things, of dealing with other people, and we're dealing with ourselves even. So let's start. Chesed. Chesed means kindness. Usually, it's related to the right side of a person, like the giving of yourself. Kindness. That's what it means. Giving yourself. But giving yourself in a way of infinite giving. Complete and absolute giving. That's chesed. That's kindness. Then let's jump to the left. Gevurah. Gevurah means severity. Severity means actually refraining from giving, but in an infinite way, like complete refraining. And these two things are, of course, opposites. They don't go together usually. And Tiferet, beauty, the third one, which is in the middle, a little bit lower. Tiferet means the combination of these two, but a perfect combination. That's why it's called beauty. If you have a garment with just one color, it's not like beautiful. You have a garment with many colors, you can say it's nice. That's what Tiferet, that's why it's called beauty, because it's a combination of chesed and gevurah, of kindness and severity. That's called beauty. Then let's go back to right. Netzach means victory. What does that mean, victory? Victory means you're going to do whatever. I'll explain this in more deeply in a few minutes. So hold on. Victory means you're going to go to the last resource you have in order to have victory over what? Over what you want to do. You want to do something, you're going to go to the end of it. Okay? If you didn't accomplish it, okay, I couldn't. But you're going to use until your last resource in order to have victory. I'll explain this in a minute. It's going to be clear, God willing. Let's jump to the left. Splendor, hoit. Splendor, the name is a little bit weird sometimes. But splendor means you're going to fight until the last resource in order to destroy anything that prevents you from accomplishing whatever you want to accomplish. You have to be careful with the difference between Netzach and hoit. Netzach means victory, and hoit means splendor. Again, victory means you are going to accomplish what you want. And you're going to go to the last resource to accomplish what you want. But not necessarily means to fight. Sometimes accomplishing what you want is like fleeing, not fighting. But hoit, splendor, is fight. I'm going to fight. Oh yes. Maybe you destroy me in a second. Okay, but at least I fought. I did my best. That's hoit. It's very different from Netzach, from victory. Then there's Yesod. Yesod, which means fundament. The name is also doesn't say so much, but Yesod means you're going to tie yourself to this until you really make it. And you're going to enjoy yourself in doing this, whatever it is. And Malchut, kingship, means you're going to talk about this, and you're going to, in actuality, you're going to do it. Physically speaking, do it. That means kingship. Now, there are many ways of understanding the connection between these things. Let's go just as briefly as possible, because I want to focus myself on something else, but let's go as briefly as possible in order to understand how these expressions, attributes work in combination one with the other. Let's think about an idea, whatever idea is, doesn't really matter which one. This is not really refining yourself, but I'm just trying to explain how these work together, how they work together. Think of any idea that you want to convey. Like suppose you know a lot about something and the one that's listening to you doesn't really know about this. And you want to share what you know with somebody else. There are going to be things you're going to have to say, and there are going to be things you're going to have to refrain from saying. Because if you say everything, the other one is not going to understand anything. Suppose a first grade class of physics, and here comes the teacher, and he starts writing numbers and formulas in the boards, numbers, and the first grade boys are looking and saying, "What? We don't know the numbers yet. We don't know how to zoom and what is this guy doing?" It's like very boring. He's not even looking at the boys. He's just writing in the boards, writing, one board after another board, huge and very incredible physics things. He knows a lot about physics. Is he connecting to the children? No. Is he teaching anything to the children? Forget it. They don't understand anything. Not even one formula. Forget it. Impossible. So if you want to teach physics to children, small children, what do? You can bring like a bag full of balls, like very small balls, and you throw the balls in the floor. You throw yourself in the floor also, everybody around you, and you start like playing with the balls. One ball hits the another ball, and this ball goes, and this guy throws out one ball and the other one and says, "Ay, it hurt," and they all play with balls. Now, are you teaching physics? You could say, no, this was really, really completely out of order. The boys were crazy, throwing balls all over the place. This is not physics. However, if you look at it from a different place, this is pure physics, like a vector of force, strength, one ball being thrown on the other boy. Aye, that hurt or that didn't hurt. Why? Because of my force. How much force did I apply? How much strength did I use to throw you a ball? Or to throw one ball hits the another ball. Why did this ball go this way and not the other way? Oh, because you threw it in this direction. Oh, this is pure physics. Pure. And it can be really complicated. Like, I don't know how you call it in English, I'm sorry, but when the ball is on the floor itself, the floor can be a rug, the floor can be very smooth. It's all physics. And it can get really complicated mathematically speaking, really complicated. But the boys that just see the balls and that just see a rug and the ball on the rug and it stops and it doesn't stop and you throw it harder and it goes further. What? Okay. So this teacher broke down physics to a very simple level. To the boys, to the kids, whatever. And they learn physics and everybody's happy. This is a good teacher. So what did he do? He took an idea, physics, and he started thinking, chesed, kindness. I could teach so much about this. I could fill boards of formulas and numbers regarding this subject. This is what kindness wants to do. I want to give you. I really want to give you. But if you give too much, you're not really giving. It's too much. Nobody's going to get it. The receptor is not going to get it. So then you go to the other side, severity, Gevurah. Nah, forget it. The teacher should have said, you cannot teach physics to first grade children. Forget it. Let's teach something else. Not physics. It's impossible. That's Gevurah. It's impossible. It's too complicated. It's too high for them. Forget it. That's Gevurah. So Chesed wants to say, yes, fill boards with formulas. And Gevurah says, no, forget it. Let's do something else. Let's go play ball outside. Forget it. No physics. Don't even mention the idea. It's too complicated. Then it comes Tiferet. And Tiferet, it's the beauty, the combination of both. Okay, don't fill boards with formulas, but also don't go play ball outside because you cannot teach this. Let's find a middle way. Teach something, but don't teach everything. And don't refrain from teaching everything. Okay, I'm going to try to see which ideas are for these boys and which ideas are not for them. Then you go to Netzach. What does Netzach mean? Victory. Victory means find the ways to explain this idea that you already decided. I'm not going to explain everything. I'm not going to explain nothing. I'm going to explain something. This point, like strength and direction. If you apply a strength in this direction, it's going to go this way and not that way, etc. Okay, I'm going to explain this idea. How? Are you going to use balls? Are you going to use boards? Are you going to use drawings? Are you going to how are you going to do this? This is Netzach. Deciding what are the methods you're going to give. Hoid is on the other side. You're going to fight until the end in order to have this subject on the table, so to speak, teaching this subject. And if the boy doesn't understand, you're going to explain it in a different way, and in a different way. And you're going to fight until you really teach this. Then you have the Yesod. Yesod is one of the, people don't talk about this, it's one of the most important things on all of this. Yesod is related to pleasure. Pleasure means how much pleasure you have in doing this. You're going to have to work to do this. It's not going to be easy. Boys are going to say, I don't understand, I don't like this, etc., etc. So if you really enjoy what you do, you're going to be able to do it. That's Yesod. If you tie yourself, you become one with this thing, then you're going to be able to do it. And you enjoy it. Otherwise, forget it. Imagine a father learning with a son mathematics because the son didn't understand the mathematics at school, so he comes back from school, and the father sits and says, okay, come, bring the papers. What do you have to teach? Come on, you didn't understand how to add 1 + 1. It's 2. Come on, everybody understands this. My son is such a... Okay, next exercise, come on. Is the son happy? I don't think so. I don't think he's ever going to come back to his father to learn anything from him. He doesn't enjoy being with me. He doesn't enjoy me. And he doesn't enjoy teaching either. That's Yesod. Enjoy what you're doing. And Malchut, kingship, is to find the specific words in order to convey the teaching. Because you can teach it this way, this other way, this language, another language, etc. This is an example. It became a little bit longer than what I wanted, but this is an example of how these characteristics, attributes actually work and what they mean. Now, I explained that we're talking about 49 days. Each one of these is composed of the other ones. How does it work? So let's take Chesed. In this particular discourse that I'm explaining now, the Rebbe talks about specifically Chesed, kindness, and how kindness is composed of each one of the other ones. How does it work? It's called, in Hebrew, it's called Chesed Shebechesed, kindness in kindness, Gevurah Shebechesed, severity in kindness, Tiferet Shebechesed, beauty within kindness, and so on. Each one is the component of something else, could be chesed, kindness, could be severity, etc., within chesed, within kindness. What's the main purpose of kindness? What does that mean, kindness? Love. Kindness means love. Kindness means being close to somebody you love, somebody you like, and you want to be close to him, to her, whatever the case. That's what kindness means. So what does that mean? Chesed shebechesed, kindness within kindness, means a type of kindness that is revealed. What does that mean, revealed? Because you can have a lot of love for somebody, but you don't show this love. Chesed shebechesed, kindness within kindness, means show this love. So if you're going to ask, okay, the Rabbi said with 49 days we have an animal part and we have to refine this animal part, counting the Omer, very nice. But he started talking about something else. No. I'm talking about exactly this. Do you love your wife? I'm talking about my wife because I'm a man. Do you love your husband? Whatever, the case is one way or the other one. Yeah, really? Did you tell him? Did you express this? Did you reveal this? So revealing this means chesed shebechesed, means kindness within kindness, and not just revealing, but with strength, like very strongly. This is what kindness, chesed shebechesed, kindness within kindness means. Now let's go to the other side. Gevurah shebechesed, severity within kindness. What does that mean? That the result of the love you have for the other one shows itself in a severity way, so to speak. For instance, you hate whomever your beloved hates. If your beloved has an enemy, I'm not discussing now you shouldn't have enemies, that's a different discussion. Suppose the case is, maybe nobody has enemies, Baruch Hashem, but whatever the case is, it's just an example. Suppose your beloved has somebody that he really hates, for whatever reason. So, Gevurah shebechesed means you hate that which your beloved hates. And sometimes comes out with fathers and mothers, it's classical example, sometimes comes comes out that the revealed part of it looks like Gevurah, looks like severity, but it's actually chesed, kindness. If you see a baby, your baby, playing something, trying to put it into the outlet in the wall, and he's playing with something, trying to put it in the wall, and you see this and say, "Whoa, what are you doing?" He starts screaming, and you go to the hand and say, "No, never do this, never do this. This is very dangerous. We don't do this. You don't know what you're doing." Okay, wait a second. What happened here? What you see is a guy or one, whatever, screaming like crazy, and maybe he hit on the hand also. I'm not saying that he brought a bat and this. No. That's crazy already. But whatever, you hit the hand. Hey, that hurts. What are you doing? What's going on here? Didn't you love me? You were my father, my mother. You were supposed to love me. Yeah, but you know what? You have to really learn that this you don't do. This thing, you don't do it. So it shows as Gevurah, as really severity and strength and but what's behind it? Love. Absolute love. Because I love you, I refrain you from doing something that is going to hurt you. Not me. I'm not going to die. You're going to die. But I love you. So I'm going to help you in order not to, etc. That's Gevurah shebechesed. Severity within kindness. Let's go to Tiferet. Let's go to beauty. This is difficult to explain, but hopefully the kindness, it's directed. Directed means you don't give kindness to everything. It's focused. And when you do it in a beautiful way. That's the way it expresses this kindness. Like in the example I just gave, the hit in the hand, no, that's not beautiful. It can be useful for a specific situation or whatever. Can be useful, but it's not beautiful. It's not nice. Not everybody enjoys this interchange, so to speak. The father is very, very nervous because the son is playing with something dangerous, and the son is crying now because somebody else is screaming and hit the hand and it's hurting, and it's not beautiful. No. Like fits the purpose, but it's not beautiful. It's not nice. Beauty means whatever happens, it's beautiful for you and for the other one also. What does that mean? It's really focused. In other circles, this beauty, Tiferet, is not translated as beauty. It's translated as mercy. Rachamim, mercy. What does mercy mean? Mercy means a very specific and very focused, like objective focused interaction. Example. Father makes a deal with the son. If you study for the exam of whatever, mathematics, whatever the case is, you study for this and you get a 8 or better, or 80, I don't know how you measure the amounts of the exam, whatever, 80 up, I'm going to give you $100. 80 down, you don't get anything. Okay, it's a deal? Yeah, it's a deal, whatever. Everybody's happy. And you see that the son is learning at nights and learning and really, really making an effort to be successful. He goes to the exam and he comes back with the exam and he has a 79. 79? 79, okay? So the son comes with the exam. 79, father, I did so well, 79. There are a few possibilities. Possibility number one, that the father doesn't even want to look at the exam, and he says, "Hey, you're $100. Be happy. Go buy whatever you want." That's chesed. What does that mean, chesed? I'm gonna give you anyway, whether you go well on the exam or you don't go well on the exam. Whether you have a 50, a 40, a 0, I don't care. Here's the $100. I don't even look at the exam. Forget it. That's chesed. Is it good, bad? I'm not gonna argue, but that's chesed. What's severity? That's kindness. What's severity? Severity means the father looking at the exam, 79. The deal was 80. Father, you saw me learning every single night for 3 weeks, and I did so. The deal was 80. You had a 79. Bye-bye. 0. You get nothing. Next time, maybe do better. That's severity. What's Tiferet? What's mercy? Mercy is the father looking at the exam. 79. The deal was 80, you know? Yes. Okay. The deal was 80, and this is 79. I should not give you anything, but I saw your effort. I saw you learning. Here's the $100. Do better next time. What's the difference with chesed? It sounds like the same. The boy anyway has $100. What's the difference? The difference is kindness doesn't even look at the exam. And the boy learns, it doesn't really matter. I'm a fool. I learned for 3 weeks, every single night, and the father didn't even look at the exam. He doesn't care. So next time, I'm going to make another deal. I'm not going to learn. And father anyway is going to give me $100. That's what he learns. That's what he learns. In mercy, the son learns, okay, my father is a good guy. I know that the rule is that I do not deserve this $100 because the deal was 80. That's clear. But my father appreciates my effort. He loves me. He loves me. He wouldn't give this $100 to somebody else because they did whatever. No, he gives it to me, like focused, and with a very specific objective. That you should know that I love you, and you should know that you have to do better. Both things. You have to make a bigger effort. But I love you. Don't worry. I love you. And I see your effort, but you have to do better. That's Tiferet. That's mercy, so to speak. And of course, when we talk about God, we talk about all kinds of expressions of Him: goodness, kindness, mercifulness, etc., etc. Now, we discussed Chesed Shebechesed. That means kindness revealed and strong. We discussed Gevurah Shebechesed. That means severity, to hate and to be like very. The actual expression of this kindness shows itself as not so kind, as severe, but it's actually kindness. Then we discussed Tiferet. Tiferet, that it should be nice and focused. Let's discuss victory. I think it's going to be easier now that we discussed the previous example. Victory means you're going to go to the end to be victorious over anything that prevents you from really getting close to the one you love. You're going to do anything so he knows or she knows that you love her or you love him, whatever the case is. That's victory. All kinds of impediments, I don't care. I'm going to go through them. I'm going to go after them. I'm going to find out a way to get close to the one I love. That's victory. Splendor, hoid, it's a very different thing. I'm going to fight. I'm really going to fight to destroy your enemies. It's not enough that I hate your enemies. That's Gevurah Shebechesed. I love you so much that even if you don't tell me, I'm gonna go destroy this guy. Really. Fight to the end. That's hoid. That's why I put this in columns. You see, Netzach, victory, it's like a branch of Chesed. So it always shows itself, looks like Chesed, kindness. But hoid is a branch of Gevurah. It's a branch of severity, splendor. So splendor is a branch of severity. So it looks like severity. That's what it looks like. The name is like, it's not so clear why, whatever. The name doesn't show the thing, but the thing is, it means really I'm going to fight until the end. Or for instance, if I see that my beloved is going through a hard time or a difficult situation, etc., I'm going to do anything to save him. And I'm going to fight until I save him. Okay, Yesod, as I explained, means, in Hebrew you call it iskashus. Iskashus means connection, pleasure. I'm going to connect to my beloved. And I'm going to do anything I have to in order to be connected. And I'm going to have pleasure in just being close to my beloved. So that's why it's a Yesod Shebechesed. Always. Chesed means love. So Yesod Shebechesed, I'm going to do anything to connect to my beloved and be close to her, to him, whatever. And then Malchut, the last one, Kingship, means actually I'm going to talk words or do actions so my beloved really sees that I love her, that I love him, whatever the case is. The difference between chesed shebechesed, we said also revealed kindness, means revealed kindness with strength. The emphasis over here is revelation with strength. Kingship, Malchut, means words, dibur in Hebrew, words. I'm going to talk a lot of words, so my beloved really knows that I love her, him, whatever the case is. Now, these same ideas you can say about any of the other combinations. You can take Gevurah, severity. The main point of severity is to restrain. So you have chesed shebigevurah, kindness in the severity. That means the action looks like kindness, but it's actually severity. It's not kindness. It's Gevurah. For instance, a friend of yours asks you for water. Oh, you want water? Yeah. You take a bottle of 5 liters of water and you say, here's the water. Boom! And you throw the water on top of the person. Didn't you want water? Here's the water. No, wait a second. I just wanted the cup of water. Yeah, and you go, oh, wet. All the clothes are wet. You wanted just water. So behind that, there's severity. Like, I really hate you. And I'm going to throw all the water on you. But you ask water, I'm giving you. It shows as kindness. I'm giving. You ask, I'm giving. Yeah, but I didn't ask so much. I didn't ask that way. Nah, that way I don't like. It looks like giving, but it's not really giving. And the same thing you can say about all the other combinations. They all combine one with the others. Now, how does it work in the 49 days? In each day, we're supposed to work on one of these combinations in order to ask ourselves, okay, where am I standing in showing my love, in being strong with my love, in helping others, in not overwhelming others? In each combination, how am I really doing with each one of these combinations? This is what counting of the Omer means from a Hasidic perspective, from a deeper, so to speak, deeper way. One more point that I think is interesting. There's a book from the Torah. It's called Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim is Song of Songs. It's written in a way of an interaction between a man and a woman, and they show love for each other, etc., etc. It's a very interesting book. Most of the people misunderstand what the book is really talking about. The book is talking about the relationship between the Jewish people and God. The Jewish people are like the woman, and God is like the man. And they all share ideas and words, etc., etc. There's one verse over there, is Mashcheni acharecha narutza heviani amelech hadarav. Mashcheni means, I don't know how to say it. Mashcheni. When there's people playing, let me find the translation because this one is important. Just a second. Whoops. Pull me. Oh, that's Mashcheni. Pull me. Okay, I'm sorry. Pull me, Mashcheni. Acharecha narutza. After you, we will run. We will run. Heviani amelech hadarav. And the king is going to take me to his room, so to speak. This is what the verse says. And if you look at the verse, it's like weird. It starts talking about singular, in a singular way. Mashcheni, pull of me. And then it says, Acharecha norutza. After you, we will run, in plural. And then it says, Heviani amelech hadarav. The king is going to take me, not we, me or us, me to his room. This verse is really amply explained in the Hasidic teachings, where our sages say, Mashcheni is the moment that God took us out of Egypt. That's Mashcheni. The Jewish people didn't really have so many merits and didn't have such a spiritual elevation, etc., etc. As I explained before, 49 gates of impurity. That's Mashcheni. God came into Egypt and he took us out because he wanted. Acharecha narutza means, okay, we, after God took us out of Egypt, we're going to work with ourselves. We have a divine part, we have an animal part. Let's work and let's run after God. That means he chose to take us out of Egypt. But once he came from above, so to speak, and took us out of Egypt, we have to make a work. We have to work on ourselves in order to get closer to him. That's Acharecha. We will run after you. And then the king took me to his room. That's the moment of the giving of the Torah. So you see in this verse, there's like a story, so to speak. And in the middle of this story, going out of Egypt, 49 days, and then the Torah. In the middle of the story is the counting of the Omer. And this counting of the Omer is working on yourself, on the different parts of yourself. That's why it's plural. In the different parts of yourself, work in order to be able to absorb the giving of the Torah when God gives it in Mount Sinai. Because if you don't work on yourself, God is going to give the Torah anyway, but you're not going to be able to absorb it, to really internalize it. Okay, I don't know if you have questions. I'm open to questions. Oops. Oh, here it is.
I love this too. This is like a sweet candy to me.
Baruch Hashem.
Good you do this for the people here. I'm currently I'm really busy with studying this, so I'm a bit further, but it's interesting to hear about the counting of the Omer, because that I didn't focus on yet. But I'd like to think, even though I'm not sure, I don't think I have no proof of being Jewish, so approach this as a noahide. But when I see, it's also nice to share that there's all these interconnections, right? The zivug, the interconnection between male and female. So this 50th, we're not going to do this hour, like you said, because I think you can do like 50 hours of it. But this 50th year, which is hidden, which is the 50th gate, which is the mother, Ima Bina, that when the lower seven Sefirot, the Midos, when they are in zivug with Malchut, which also is the Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, is like the female which is in zivug with Malchut, which is the kingdom, the world. So if these two combine, if you have the healthy opening there, then you can, by working on yourself, you can open up this hidden year, which is the 50th, which is Ima, which is the mother pouring from the what's it called, Malchut, from the living waters, because she's in zivug with the Abba. So that's Ketach of Mabina, and that's all complete. So it's such a beautiful system. And then you say, if Hashem would have wanted, he could have made 12 out of it, or he could, but it's so perfect. It's also, when you start to understand it, it's so beautiful, and it's so perfect, and you can find it in anything,
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
so amazing. So I'm not going to go very deep into it, but this is like I'm like a child in the candy store or something.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, wonderful. And one last thing I wanted to share is I turned 49 this year, and I looked up my Jewish birthday, which is the 28th of Nisan.
Oh.
And what happened is that Jericho, the wall of Jericho collapses on the 7th day of the encirclement of Jericho. The Jews, accompanied by the Holy Ark, circled the city 7 times. So that's 7 times 7 is 49. This is my
Very good. Very good.
For what it's worth. Just
Baruch Hashem.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think there is a question on the chat, but I'm not sure.
Oh, let me see. Isn't the ultimate intended when the Mashiach comes, all people will live according to the mitzvahs given in Sinai? Yeah. Sure. That's the way it's supposed to be. But I don't know the question. If the question was yes or no, yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay, I have a question. this is fascinating to start with. So different from what we've heard all our lives as far as what to work on and how to do it. You started going through the seven within the seven,
Yes.
the seven different characteristics within kindness, etc. But because it's such a new concept, how would we understand all of the sevens within sevens for all the different attributes? I don't think I could figure that out on my own. There's somewhere we could go to read about that or hear about that.
Okay, very good, very good. There's a very small booklet. It's in Spanish and it's also in English, of course, because actually the Spanish one is a translation of the English one. It's a small booklet. You can get it in Kehos. If you give me a minute, I'll give you a link. Just a second.
Okay, great.
I don't know where you are in the world, how you get this, but
In the United States.
so it's easy. Very nice. This is in New York, so you're gonna get it easily. Let me see. Where should I? Where is it? Looking. Search. Product search. Okay. All right. Wait. Okay, I'm putting in the chat.
Okay.
This booklet explains each one of the combinations and explains like an exercise you can do on each day to work on that particular combination.
Okay.
It's a very small thing, but very powerful, very nice. You see it?
Okay. Yep, I do. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's very nice. Like looks too simple, but it's not. It's very nice.
Okay.
You have the same one also as an app, and I will put that one tomorrow in the blog. So you
okay. I didn't know.
you have it also as an app.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, well, we have some learning ahead of us.
Yeah,
We're excited.
that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
How do I get that?
Any more questions?
Yes, I had a question.
Yes.
Because I'm not really sure what we can and cannot learn. So you said in the beginning we cannot count the Omer, but if we follow that booklet or the app with the teachings of the different attributes, that's allowed to do, and that's not considered counting the Omer. We can follow at the same time the app counts the attributes. We can follow that. That's not a problem.
Yes. When I maybe I didn't express myself properly. You could count. What you cannot do is to say the bracha, the blessing. The blessing doesn't make any sense. If you want to count the days, you can do it. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Because I think it's very useful. Thank you.
Definitely, sure. And you, of course, you can through this booklet or the app or whatever the case is, doesn't really matter. You can work on yourself on whatever the energy, so to speak, of that day is. Yeah, sure, definitely, you can do it.
Thank you.
Oh, I see in the chat. Maybe we should share the Counting Omer app. Oh, okay. And why can't we say the bracha? Okay, John has an interesting question. I'll explain. The idea is like this. Each blessing, there are three types of blessings. That it's a whole big thing, but I'll do it very short. There are three types of blessings. Blessing number one is blessings for food, for different, actually it's not food, it's like benefits from the world, eating, drinking. That's one type of blessing. Bnei Noach can definitely and should definitely do those blessings, say those blessings. Like you want to eat an apple, there's a specific blessing for an apple. Actually, there's the app, Bnei Noach app, has all the blessings in Spanish, in English, in Portuguese, in Italian. It's a whole thing. So those blessings you can definitely say. Then there are blessings that are not related to having benefit from the world, but are blessings of praising God. For instance, when there's a thunder, there's a blessing you can say. When you see whatever, different kinds of things, you can say a blessing. Those blessings are for praising God, for making His world, for being powerful, whatever the reason is. Those blessings are also okay for Bnei Noach. But then there are blessings for commandments, precepts, commandments. And when Bnei Noach, when a specific commandment was not given to Bnei Noach, it doesn't make any sense that a person says a blessing thanking God for giving me this commandment if He didn't give it to you. That's what the blessing doesn't make any sense. For instance, the counting of the Omer. The blessing is thank you God, basically, not saying the correct text, but whatever, basically. Thank you God for giving me this commandment. I'm going to do it now. Today is number 1. Wait a second. You can say today is number 1. It's okay, but the blessing doesn't make sense. What do you mean? Thank you God for giving me this commandment? He didn't give it to me. That's why the blessing doesn't make sense.
I have another question. Do you
Yes.
also have something that we can use on our kids' corner of our page? Because I think it's very useful if we want to teach our children about it, but it maybe has to be a little bit age appropriate so that they understand.
You mean about the Omer or in general?
I think now about the Omer, but in general also we're always looking for things so we can also take care of the kids and take them along.
There are lots of sites. In English, it's very easy to find. Spanish is not so easy, but in English, it's very easy to find information. There was a site, I haven't seen this in so long. Let me see if it still exists. Yeah, okay. Just a second. Where is it? This site that I'm sharing in the chat, Torah Thoughts, it's a site done for children. It's really for children. And the focus of the site is for Jewish children. That's clear. But many of the ideas over there are also good for non-Jewish children that want to follow the message of the Judaism, etc. So you can take things from there. I don't see right now in the site whether they have things on the Omer, but I suppose they do have. They have on everything. Parsha, holidays. Yeah. You can take things up from there, and if at any time you have doubts whether a certain thing applies to Bnei Noach or doesn't apply to Bnei Noach, you can ask. Does this idea apply to Bnei Noach or not? Also, Chabad.org, has also a thing for children. I'm almost sure. Yep. This is also for children. And they have lots of resources. Many things. Again, it's the focus is Jewish children. But if you're gonna ask me about the story of Abraham, of course it applies to everybody. Like, what is it going to say? Abraham went and came back and he knew God. Okay, that's good. When he says, when the site says, and you have to go and do this commandment, okay, then you can argue. Do I follow this or not? Okay, ask. If you have a doubt, ask.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned how mankind was made in the image of God. it's talked about in Bereshit. And I was just wondering, of course, I've heard many Christians discuss that topic, what it means to be made in the image of God.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what is the understanding of that? How should we understand it?
What does that mean? Okay, in simple way, in simple meaning, is that just as God has free will, He gave us, human beings, the possibility of having free will. The truth is that the only one, this sounds strange, I know, but it's to explain like further. The only one that has real, absolute free will is God. But He like gives this gift to all humankind, not to animals, for instance. That's why also there's a deeper difference between animals and human beings. He gives this gift to all humankind. That's what basically means to be in the image of God. To be able to have free will to distinguish between good and bad and choose. You do whatever you want with your life. Of course, if you choose good, God is going to reward you. If you choose bad, God is going to punish. Okay, very nice. But besides that idea, He gives you the possibility of choosing. That in itself is a big gift and big responsibility, of course. And we see how big the responsibility is, that God told the first man only one commandment, specifically, clearly, and He gave him the chance to choose between doing it and not doing it, and he failed. So it's not so easy. It sounds easy, but it's not so easy. The point is that that's basically the image of God. That's what it means.
Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
I had also a question that you can work on your attributes on the 49 days, but it's also a good idea to do tshuva on this 49 days. And to my understanding, you can say special tehillim for that. So I read that there's a Jewish practice that you say, for example, on Sunday, tehillim 25, or on Monday, tehillim 32, or...
Okay, I never heard that. In Chabad, we don't say it. I never heard it.
But are there special tehillim which you can say, or just say tehillim?
Yeah, you can say any tehillim you want. Yeah, anytime. The reason why this time, from after Pesach until Shavuot, except for one day, which is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, the reason why they are like, so to speak, quote unquote, sad days, is because the Rabbi Akiva, which was a very important sage in the Jewish history, he lived around the year 120, 130 of Common Era. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students. And of those 24,000 students, they all perished between Pesach and Lag BaOmer, and the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer. That's why these days are not so happy days, and we don't do marriages, we don't do parties, yeah. But that's like a very different idea, and we have to understand why they perished, what happened with them, and why the 33rd day, what happened in that day. Okay, it's like a different thing, but that's the reason why these are also days for tshuva, for repentance, for reconnection, etc. But I never heard the custom of saying Tehillim, specific psalms on specific days. I never heard that. No.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
So I don't see any questions in the chat. So thank you very much. It was a very good
Thank you.
class. We did learn a lot, I think.
Baruch Hashem. Oh, Lori has a question, I think.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Be well.
Thank
Thank you.
you.